man, when ChatGPT is telling me to like pull out, like chill it out, maybe it's time to step away from the keyboard.
Welcome back to Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I am your host, Dave, and today I'm excited to bring you an interview with Gary Whitta. Gary Whitta wrote a whole bunch of great things out there, most notably the writer of the movie Book of Eli starring Denzel Washington and the co-writer of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. He's worked in video games, comics, he's released his own books. During the pandemic, he had an Animal Crossing talk show called Animal Talking. And today we're going to talk about his new podcast, a serialized comedy podcast called See You in Hell, with an amazing cast. It's available right now on all streaming platforms. You'll find the links down below. Me and Gary get to talk about a lot of wide-ranging topics, but mostly focused on the state of the entertainment industry, most notably Hollywood right now. And that's what spawned this new podcast, See You in Hell. He is a very funny human being, very quick-witted, as well as a great dark sense of humor. Kind of matches my own. We do talk about everything under the umbrella of writing and directing. I think if you are a fan of anything coming out in the movies or TV, and you're kind of curious to hear a little bit of insight, this is a really insightful interview. We also talk about the inside of podcasting and editing, and obviously we talk about the plot and all about what this pilot, See You in Hell, entails. I appreciate the time that Gary gave me today. It's very, very fun conversation for me. And I appreciate you for listening. And if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, or, whatever you are listening to this on, you can comment, you can interact with it. Like we talk about in the interview, when people leave reviews and they talk about a podcast, more people tend to listen. So without further ado, let's hear from Gary Whitta. Welcome back, friends. Today I have a multi-talented human being based in writing. You've known him from movies that he's written or co-written, like The Book of Eli and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Games. He's also worked on tons of games, but most recently, or most notably, Walking Dead from Telltale. He's also an author who's written books like Abomination and Gundog, and also in comics with Death Jr., Oliver, The Last Jedi adaptation. Well, he's got something new to talk about, an amazing, hilarious, serialized podcast called See You in Hell. I'm talking to Gary Whitta today. Gary, good morning. How are you?
Hi, you didn't have the camera on me while I was eating, did you? It's going to be just you, and then you cut to me, right? Because I was munching on a I'm doing it anyway. Like the audio version of this podcast is going to be much more palatable for your audience. I think nobody wants to see me munching on a breakfast quesadilla first thing in the morning.
I mean, some people will probably be munching on a breakfast quesadilla while listening to this, so they'll feel that kind of compatriotness with you, that that symbiotic nature of loving breakfast burritos.
I've learned the hard way though that the microphone is sometimes much better. Like you can't hear it when I'm eating, unless it's like chips or something really loud. I don't hear it. But then I'm playing a game online or whatever, and I'm like trying to sneakily eat something, and someone says, "Who's eating something over there?" Like the microphone really picks it up. So eat and do all your bathroom business before you sit down in front of a microphone is one of the many lessons I've learned.
That actually I feel like is the first rule of Podcast Club, is to take care of that before. But
know what your mute button is.
That's right. That's right.
And make sure it's got like a really good light on it, so you want to be able to tell. Right. I don't trust that either. The same way that some people don't trust the thing that turns your camera off. Like I still like I don't know. I'm not like this kind of person generally, but I still feel more comfortable with a webcam that has a physical shutter on it, like a door that closes over. Because these days, who the hell knows? In the age of Palantir and Zuckerberg and this software, this Pegasus software that can listen to your phone. Like you sometimes you just want I've literally like draped a towel over it in the past where you just want to know, right, that there's something that can't be defeated by software.
I mean, you have to, these, like you said, these days. I mean, I remember when people used to put the piece of tape over the camera, and I thought that was interesting because it was way before any of that. I mean, it was post Patriot Act, but it was way before everything else.
Yeah, I thought Nintendo obviously are very much like this when they with the Switch 2, they have an official Switch 2 camera, and that they most companies don't do it anymore. But Nintendo has a little physical shutter, a little switch, and you just have the comfort of knowing that because when you're dealing with kids and stuff, like all the more important, right, to make sure that you've got that peace of mind. But yeah, it's like, so I've got like a really fancy webcam here, and it has all these bells and whistles. It does not have a physical shutter. It does not have a door. And so, yeah, I will literally take like a microfiber cloth around here that I use to like keep my screen clean. And sometimes you'll just, in your more paranoid moments, you read something about Palantir or whatever, and you go, okay, time to put the thing over. You know what amazes me the most? And I'm sorry, I've already derailed your podcast.
It's okay.
It's like, this is what Orwell got right and what he got wrong. He completely got it right that there would be cameras everywhere and we would live in this surveillance state. What he got wrong, and which I think is much more scary and more interesting, is that in 1984, they were put there by the government, right? You were forced to have them. What is even, like, if you just said to Orwell, you were half right. There will be cameras everywhere, but guess what? People will freely put them in their houses, and they will in fact pay to do it. They will pay for the privilege to completely rig up their house for picture and sound in every room. Like, think about it, like, do an inventory. Think about how many internet connected phones and microphones you have in your house right now, whether it's smart speakers, whether it's phones, iPads, your TV, like everything is like we signed
cameras,
voluntarily said, okay, yeah, put all these cameras in my house, put all these microphones in my house. And who the hell knows where that is all ending up,
Yeah, that is true. I mean, the thing I've always thought about it is, I mean, it is, we live in a complete surveillance state, and around the world we do. But the other thing is like, how do they tell when I'm walking around my house screaming about the things that I want to do to the head of state and the president and all that stuff? How do they know if I'm joking or not? Like, why aren't they at my house? I've said it plenty of times.
Yeah, and so the much more innocuous one, but it's still kind of scary, that gets me, and everyone's got their version of this story, and the social media companies try to kind of write it off as like confirmation bias, like, oh, there's some other reason why that's happening, but come on, you're not fooling anyone. It's like a couple of years ago, I said to me, you're supposed to keep a mattress for 10 years and then replace it, right? So we were coming up, as I said to my wife, like, we should probably get a new mattress. And I'm not kidding. The next day I had ads for mattresses in my feed. Come on. Don't piss in my ear and tell me it's raining. It's like, oh, you probably Google searched for that. No, I didn't. We had
you had the conversation
about a mattress. And now it's mattresses everywhere in my Facebook. Come on.
I used to date an esthetician, and she would tell me about skincare products and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, our conversations, I'd start getting ads for Aveda and all these things, and I'm like, I'm not looking for this stuff. I'm just having this conversation with her, and yeah, it's kind of wild. But
the weird thing is, the algorithms aren't even really that smart. It's like you buy a fridge, and then the next day you've got more commercials from it. It's like, oh, I hear you're interested in fridges. Yeah, I just bought one. You think I'm in the market for a second?
I need a second one. Well, I will say this, and it's funny you mentioned, and it's a great segue, because over the last year, the algorithm has actually put things into my view that I really enjoy. Last year, my favorite album of the year was Hayley Williams' solo album, and like that just showed up in my algorithm. But in early December last year, I was scrolling through TikTok, and a American British man named Gary Whitta showed up on my feed talking about a project he's working on called See You in Hell. And that's exactly how it came into my view.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? The algorithm does get stuff right sometimes, but mostly it's bad. Like, so I'm British, right? And there's a British soap opera that I grew up on called EastEnders that I still enjoy watching here in the US, and I added it to my watch list on the app that I use to watch it. And now of course the algorithm goes, oh, we hear you're interested in foreign soap operas. So here's like 50 Spanish telenovelas you might. No, I know that's completely the wrong conclusion. Like, I don't know how they're going to I guess this is what AI is trying to do, but like one thing that these algorithms don't have is just like common sense.
Right. Nothing. Just
extrapolate the correct conclusion from that.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a foreign soap opera. It's from the country I'm from. Like British shows, maybe extrapolate that. I might be interested in that. Don't get me started. All right.
Well,
you want to do an actual podcast?
Well, I mean, in and it's funny because it put you in front of me, and I mean, I'll say this one thing is they have the opportunity to use the algorithm for pure good that would add to their stupid capitalistic goals of ruling the world while also pleasing us. But yet they choose to, like you said, show you shit that you absolutely have no interest in, that is against fucking common sense.
The algorithmic nature of everything is actually something that I've been learning a little bit about the past couple of weeks. So here's an attempt to get the podcast back on track. So because I have this show, I've done podcasts in the past, but like not terribly recently. And so I have very little understanding of like how the podcast market works, like what constitutes a hit show, how you get on a chart, how you're categorized, how Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all these other engines figure out what people might want to listen to. Like it's in their interest, right, to give you good recommendations.
Sure.
Right? Like they want the algorithm to work.
Yeah.
And so as I've got this podcast, it's been out for a couple of weeks now. That's long enough for it to be, for the algorithm to like get a good sense of it. And so I've been kind of on a self-taught crash course over the last couple of weeks about like how podcast metrics works and how algorithms work. Like, because I can tell already, like I've had people say to me, "Oh, I was on Spotify or I was on Apple Podcasts the other day, and like it recommended your show to me without me showing any prior interest." And so it is surfacing it, which is obviously very gratifying. But I've been looking into like, okay, so how does Apple's algorithm, for example, decide if it's going to recommend your show? Like what kind of metrics does it look at? And one interesting, and this makes total sense when you think about it, is like it's not looking. I mean, it's looking at a bunch of things, but like the total number of downloads, like the size of the audience, for example, is not the most interesting thing to Apple, nor is it the thing that defines your chart position. I've been seeing the See You in Hell chart position kind of go. Not that I'm obsessive or checking it every 5 minutes or anything. That's not me. I wouldn't do a thing like that. But like, as I'm watching it going up and down, I'm like, I wonder how, what if it ticks up or ticks down, like what's the algorithm doing? Like what's it looking at to make that decision? I find this interesting. And the number one, so I found out the thing that Apple cares most about the most, and it makes sense when you think about it, is the percentage of people who click on the show who actually listen to a substantial portion of it, right?
Yes.
Engagement or whatever you want to call it. It's like as soon as anyone can click on a show and like after 30 seconds say, "Oh, that's not for me," right? And turn it off. And that it counts as a listener, but it doesn't count as an engaged listener, which is what they really want. And
it is tricky when you read those metrics.
Brag at the top of the show right now for See You in Hell. So apparently, and this is just from me poking around the internet and kind of learning about this stuff, like what Apple or Spotify considers an engaged listener, or the sign of a show that a metric that tells them that people are enjoying the show is they have to listen to whatever they define as a substantial portion of it, like more than half or 2/3 or whatever it is. Like you actually really did listen to it. You didn't just click it on and off after a couple of minutes. The over under on that, like the percentage of people that click on it and then go on to listen to a substantial portion of it, is about 20%. And if you get more than 1 in 5 people to listen to more than like 30 seconds of your podcast, you've done well. See You in Hell's number is 64%.
Holy
and that's
shit.
a 40-minute show. So you have to listen. He's obviously high. It's easier to get a higher engagement number if the shorter your show is, right? You have to listen to it for a 40-minute show, which is pretty long for scripted comedy. I'm trying to get that down for the next episode. We have this like 2/3, basically 2/3 of people that click on it, even for 1 second, go on to listen to the majority of it. And that's why Apple likes the show and why they've been surfacing. And obviously it's kind of like a snowball rolling downhill, right? If you can show to them that people are enjoying the show, they will recommend it to more people, and the snowball builds and builds, and then you hopefully get that kind of momentum. So it's been really interesting for me, just if nothing else, just the past couple of weeks, just learning like about how this part of the market works, because I know very little about podcasts, but I've learned a lot in the past couple of weeks about what constitutes a success, what numbers you're supposed to be looking at, and stuff like that. And again, I try not to obsess about the numbers, but I do.
It's hard not to when it's your baby.
I was feeding the numbers. I'm not, as I'm sure you know, I'm very anti-AI, but it is useful for some things like data analysis and stuff like that. It's actually very good. When you get into the generative stuff, that I don't like it. So I fed my metrics into ChatGPT and said, what do these numbers tell you? And then I was giving it like daily updates for about a week as I was getting the new numbers. And eventually it said, you think you should maybe go think about something else. Like go play a video game or something. Like like, you don't need to be obsessing over these numbers. Man, when ChatGPT is telling me to like fucking cool out, like chill the fuck out. Maybe it's time to step away from the keyboard. So I went to art creators, and I felt much better after that.
Well, for anybody, for the people that are listening to this that don't know, See You in Hell, I'll let you explain it a little bit, but it is a satire. It is a comedy, a little bit of inside baseball about the current state of trying to get something made in Hollywood in any way, shape, or form. And it's fucking hilarious. I mean,
thank you. I appreciate that. It's,
you had me in the first 5 minutes laughing at the fake podcast that plays at the beginning.
Oh
of
yeah,
the show.
that was actually a very late addition. But yeah, because I was worried that the opening that we had wasn't working, so we swapped it out very late. But yeah, so I should say thank you to Seth Rogen, because he gave me the easiest comparison to make. Just say, hey, if you like the studio, right? Like inside baseball, Hollywood comedies obviously have been around for a long time, right? Whether it's like Entourage or Extras, or we've seen these shows. I mean, Reboot. Yeah. We've seen many of these shows. It's a kind of perennial subgenre within Hollywood. Hollywood kind of making fun of itself. But people have got very short memories, right? Especially these days, and so there hasn't been one in a minute, right? Maybe the franchise on HBO, but like I don't think anyone really watched that. And so, but now the studio's a big hit. It's very easy for me to kind of like piggyback on the back and say, hey, do you like the studio? But like, if it was written by someone who's much more bitter and resentful about the business than Seth, this has been fairly good to him. It's treated me like shit. So I got to come at it from a much more cynical point of view. And unlike the studio, which I think is a very funny show, but obviously, like any show on television, goes through a notes process, right, where executives will say, I don't know, maybe this joke's a bit too close to the bone or whatever. Because I self-produced and self-funded this, I don't have to put up with. That's actually the best part, right? I don't have to put up with anybody's notes. And so, the version of the show that you hear on wherever you get your podcasts, or in seeyouinhell.tv, where all the links are, is just completely unfiltered. This is what it looks like when you let a screenwriter talk directly to an audience and not have any notes, for better or worse. I mean, maybe it's listen, notes can be and are often good when you work with smart people, smart producers, smart executives, actors, directors, anyone you're collaborating with. If it's a smart note, it's a smart note. But any screenwriter will tell you we also get a lot of very dumb notes, self-serving notes. I'm sure you saw Matt Damon this past week. Netflix must love him, right? Because so him and Ben, right, just did this show this movie for Netflix, and Matt's out there spilling the tea, right? It's not like we don't already know this, but Matt was saying, like, one of the notes you'll get from Netflix is like, can you like restate what's happening like every 5 minutes?
3 times, yeah.
We assume that people just aren't paying attention. And the thing is, it sounds like a very cynical assumption, but maybe it's not inaccurate, right? We all do it, right? We all kind of scroll on our phones as we're watching TV. My wife and I kind of bifurcate them. We have what we call our laptop shows, right? Shows that you can watch in the background while you're scrolling. But then like, if we're going to sit down and watch The Pit or something really good, like then the phones are going away, right? Shows that demand your full attention. There is a difference, but Netflix just assumes everyone is a laptop show person now, right? Everyone's on their phone, this whole second screen thing. And so the idea that you have to keep like spoon feeding the plot. Hey, Ben, a good thing we're tracking down these drug dealers who stole all that money. That's right. And don't forget your sister's been kidnapped too. It's like, it's especially as a screenwriter, people that, it's very hard for me anymore to just watch a TV show or a movie like as a civilian, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's like once it's like Cypher in the Matrix. Like, I don't even see the code anymore. I just see blonde, brunette, redhead. It's like, you can see the notes. It's like anytime you see that, it's like, well, gee, that's because, that's because your sister was murdered. And it's like, I guarantee you that was added in because of a note or whatever. And sometimes you can see it because it gets added. I'll give you a little trick to spot it. Like you can see it because sometimes it gets added late in ADR. So like after the show is filmed, right, you'll still get a note. Like we really like the Netflix or whoever, because it's not just Netflix, it's everyone saying, like, can we like restate what is going on here for people that haven't been paying attention? And so, well, we can't do that. We shot the scene already. So they'll add it in ADR. They'll find a shot where the actor is off screen, and they'll have the actor loop the line, and you can tell, right, because you don't see the actor in the shot, and they can never quite match the tone, the room tone. So you can tell, like, that line just feels like it was dropped in from a slightly different place. And it's like, there was the note. You see it every single time. We call it hanging up in screenwriting. We call it hanging a lampshade on something.
Interesting.
Say, like,
I never heard that term.
You draw attention to it, right?
Yeah.
It's like you want to make sure that somebody. I don't know. For the longest time, I used to say like, give the audience some credit. They're smarter than you think. I don't know. Maybe and we're all audience members, right? Maybe we're not smarter. Maybe we are dumb. Like I said, I scroll on my phone as well. We do live in this attention economy age now, whereas we increasingly watch movies at home. If you're a decent human being, when you go to the movies, you put your phone down and you pay attention, right? It's the whole point. Lights go down, and that screen becomes your world, right? At home, it's your own home, right? So you don't have to worry about anyone else. You can pause it. Your phone is right there in front of you, constantly, like, dragging your attention away. And it is, unless you're disciplined about it and a real movie lover or a TV lover, I'm going to sit down and watch this show. Sadly, I think Netflix are probably right about that. I mean, I don't think it's the right solution to dumb movies down and constantly like spoon feed people the plot. But I think the diagnosis is correct, which is we now deal with audiences who you can no longer assume that they're fully paying attention when they're watching something.
Which is so sad. I mean, I'll give you, another piece of credit, because you've been talking about The Pit on Threads and online. And so last night, I'm not against the medical drama thing. I just can't see some of that, like some of that stuff. You don't like the gory stuff? Yeah,
well, the Pit really lays that on thick, so you got to be careful.
Well, that's the thing. So it's amazing. I watched the first 3 episodes of the first season last night, but when like in that first episode where the lady
that degloved foot.
Yeah, I picked up my phone and looked at my phone. I was listening, but I'm like, I can't see this
because I can deliberately to look away.
Yeah. I can watch Oh God, I can watch the goriest horror movies, but when it comes to realistic stuff that's too close to actually being real, it makes me super queasy. Yeah. But that show demands your attention. Like the dialogue on it, and Noah Wiley's got the most empathetically kind face, and I think that's why we love him so much.
I would let Noah Wiley be my doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be like, go, whatever you think, Noah. Dr. Wiley, because he's so good. Everybody wants that guy to be their doctor, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it is true. Like these days, it feels insulting for people that do love film and TV to feel like, oh, they're just, doing this thing over and over. But then there's the people that aren't, who they're, like they're trying to grab their attention and overstating the plot. But the thing you mentioned about the ADR, I always noticed it because you could tell when there's a scene and then all of a sudden the character's facing away from the camera and they're saying something really important. I'm like, oh, that was edited. That was edited in after.
It's interesting. We actually did it in Rogue One. And again, it's one of those things where like I always worry that other people are going to notice it, but I think you only notice it because you're looking for it, because it's there.
Yeah.
We had some of they pulled some of for the Battle of Scarif, a lot of the same pilots were there that were at the Battle of Yavin, like literally the next day. Yeah. So they pulled all this old footage from Red Leader and Gold Leader, and they from outtakes from A New Hope, and they cleaned it up. And so when you see Red Leader in Rogue One, that's like an outtake from like 1975 or something that they digitally cleaned up and matched the shot. So you see like, this is Gold Leader, this is Red Leader, and then like, but then when they say the new piece of dialogue, like we're targeting the shield gate, you'll notice that's a cutaway that's outside the cockpit. Right. And so, and they matched it very well. And then 99% of people probably aren't thinking about it. But like, again, I see it. Right. It's I'll give you an example that's relative to See You in Hell. And you can tell me as a listener, right, if this is something you noticed in the moment. So when we recorded Jonathan Frakes, who plays Ted Sarandos, the CEO of Netflix, which in itself is just delightful. And I love that he was up for that. Jonathan, when we got his audio, there was a technical issue with the audio. And because our other actors that he was in the scene with recorded in a professional studio, it was very hard to match it, right? If you've got one actor that is like on a top quality studio mic in a studio environment, like pristine audio, and another actor who literally kind of like phoned it in from home on their Yeti mic or whatever it is that they've got. Right. No offense to Yeti, I see you've got one there. They're good mics. Yeah. But like, I literally had a professional audio engineer look at it and said, there's nothing I can do with this in the EQ to like match it to make it sound like he's in the same room. I thought, man, I'm going to have to like, and it's the first scene in the show as well. I don't want people feeling like this is like, I put a lot of effort into, even though I made it all from home and did it mostly myself in GarageBand, that I wanted it to feel like you could have got this on Audible or, it's professionally done. right?
Definitely.
It didn't feel like a garage band production. And so like it had to, and I couldn't get Jonathan back because like his window had closed. He was off shooting Starfleet Academy or something. He was like directing something else. And so, one of the things that screenwriters become very good at is finding creative solutions to non-creative problems. Like, it's like, that scene in Apollo 13 where they dump all the stuff out on the table. It's like, okay, this is all the shit that they have up there in the capsule. This is all they have. We have to build a functioning like ventilation system out of this and only this, right? Just figure out a way to make it work. And that often is what screenwriters have to do. It's like, these are especially when you're in production, it's like, these are the parameters that we have and they can't change. You have to make this work within these parameters. And so in the end, it ended up being a simple fix. I ran a phone filter over his voice, which like hid all the gremlins. And I added a line late in ADR. Oh, sorry, Ted's stuck in traffic. He can't make the meeting in person, but we've got him on the phone. And then it sounded fine. But the whole time I was thinking, people are going to listen to this and say, "Oh, I see what they did there. His audio needed to be fixed." But nobody picked it up. It's just me obsessing about it. Because if you know it's there, you're gonna look for it, right?
Sure. I had no clue, and I've listened to it 3 times.
Just little things like that I stress over. But it's fun. Sometimes it's actually fun to come up with to be given those. It's like a logic puzzle. It's like you've got a man in a room. There's a man in a room. He's got 3 doors or whatever it is. It's like you've got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
That's creative. Even though it's not in service of a creative goal, it's a technical problem you're trying to fix. It still requires the same kind of. You're still engaging the same part of your brain in fixing it. And so that even that part of the process can be fun.
Well, and when I first started this podcast, I edited it. I have my other YouTube channel that I edit, and it's the same thing. Like every once in a while, you just run into a problem that you have to figure out. But I don't know. You worked on this podcast in GarageBand, and it's like a puzzle. And I enjoy doing puzzles. I assume that's the same for you.
And I don't know about you. I actually really enjoyed the editorial process, like going into GarageBand and like one of the things. Again, it's fascinating to me what you learn about different mediums. Like when you work in audio, there's a lot of things that are somewhat obvious about because I've written for audio before. And I just think of it as radio drama. All the tech bros out there are like, audio, podcast, narrative, dramas. It's the new things. Yeah, congratulations. You invented radio drama. We had that in the 1930s. Literally, we had it for 100 years. It's like, we've invented a train that doesn't need rails. Congratulations, you've invented a bus. It's like, what are these people? Like, are you paying attention to anything that's going on in the world around you? Well, you already have a bunch of this stuff. But like, for example, so I used to listen to a lot of radio dramas. Like, as a British person who grew up in the 1980s, I grew up on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and that was before that was a book. That was a radio comedy.
I did not know that.
It was radio. It was a BBC radio serialization. And then because it was a big hit, Douglas Adams novelized it, and then the book became what people knew. And so in audio, one of the things you expect is a lot of dialogue, things like, "Oh my God, where did you get that gun?" Because you have to verbally explain. Like everything has to be. It's interesting in screenwriting we say show don't tell. In audio you have to do the exact opposite.
Yeah, right? Tell don't show. Yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of directing the audience's attention through dialogue and sound. It's just something as simple as somebody entering a room. In TV, you might not particularly hear the sound of the door opening and closing. In radio, you have to hear it because that's the only indication that someone might have that someone's entered the room or left the room. Things like that. But also, one of the things I discovered is this idea of dead air, and it's actually good for comedy because you want to. Like, a lot of people said, "Oh, I really like how the dialogue is like really boom, 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 like really fast, like back and forth." And what's interesting is it was designed that way certainly because I wanted to have that kind of. I always, it's like I'm like the AliExpress Aaron Sorkin. It's like
I was just gonna say we have
Aaron Sorkin at home. Yes. And this is what you get when you pay Temu prices. Like you get because I wanted it to be that kind of like walk and talk, that banter. And this obviously that's a comedy tradition that goes all the way back to Billy Wilder, right? That fast boom 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 boom. You see it,
like bullets.
I love that. I love that kind of stuff. And it wasn't. What's interesting is again, it was kind of born out of technical necessity or the need to adapt to the medium. I didn't imagine it being that rat-a-tat-a-tat. But when I'm playing it back, you're aware of the fact that any pause or gap in the dialogue in audio is going to kill you. right? Like, for example, if you can have two people sitting at dinner in a scene on television, and you can have a moment where someone reacts to something silently, right? Because it's all in the performance, in the face, you see it in the eyes, you've got something to look at. But in audio, you don't have that. And so you can't have those gaps, you can't have those pauses. And if you have them, they have to be kind of illustrated with something, with the sound. And so
transitional,
90% of what I did, like if I ran the unedited version of See You in Hell, it would be about 2 hours long. It's 40 minutes long because you nickel and dime it down. You cut all of the you literally go in and cut all of the pauses out between the words, and you tighten up the little spaces, and you find a little sweet spot where the dialogue feels fast, but it doesn't feel like it's been edited together that way. Like Shannon, for example, who plays Gail, one of the two leads, she's brilliant. It's naturally in her style when she reads dialogue to sometimes, to slow it down and break it out. And sometimes that's great. Other times, like, you just cannot have those pauses. Every actor does this to some extent. And so you go in and you just kind of tighten and squeeze every little piece. It's
just
like kind of
those milliseconds.
Right. And so you end up with, like, any good radio drama has, almost no, in radio they call it dead air, right? You cannot just like have nothing coming over the mic, because people will think that something's gone wrong with the station. They'll change the station. And in audio drama, it's the same. Because audio is all there is. There's no visual component to support it at all. You just cannot have even a second of silence feels like an eternity when that's all you have. Every now and again, there's like a moment where it can work. Like there's a moment you may remember. There's like Dan and his agent are talking about, like, do you feel guilty after you masturbate?
Oh my God, that line's
and
hilarious.
there's a and it says in the script, like, there's an awkward pause, and that's the joke. The joke is the pause. It's like that moment where you think, like, how the fuck did we get here? Like, let's get back on track. And so I left the pause in, and it worked. But like literally, just in that case where like where the pause is the joke, you can get away with it. But only in very, very specific conditions. And again, it's like, it really, for me, it's like building an airplane, like, while it's in the air. Like, I'm learning how to do this as I'm doing it. It's like, I didn't necessarily know the thing about having to cut out all the pauses until I'm listening to it going, oh God, this sounds really slow. Like, what's all these pauses? And you go back in and you start cutting them down, and then suddenly it becomes much faster, and it gives you that back and forth. So yeah, it's fascinating to me. And it's one of the most interesting things about this whole experiment has been learning to, write and produce in a different medium, and where the priorities are, and not just where did you get that gun, but like all the other little things that come with, the specifics of making something audio. Originally, when I wrote See You in Hell as a TV pilot, the opening few minutes of the show were actually the season finale of West Palm Beach. It was the show within the show. And it was cutting back and forth between that, which was this insane scene, this Reservoir Dogs type scene where like everyone's like pointing guns at each other, as all the, because it's this stupid, like, telenovela, like glossy soap opera thing that they created in the show. And it's cutting back and forth between that and people at like various watch parties that are like completely into the show.
Watching it.
And that would have been a fine way to open the show. But like in audio, there's no way to pull that off, right? It's because it's the opening scene. It's like, what the hell is this? It's another show. On TV, I could have explained it easily, right? You're seeing it on TV. You're cutting back and forward. But in audio, there was just no way to do it. And so we got, instead we got that other kind of expositional, we did the podcast host. We're just very explaining this was a hit show. Now it's gone, now it's going to be done because the creators were married. Now they hate each other. They can't make the show anymore. So you had to, we this kind of like the conceit of like a podcast pop culture review show as a way to kind of just like exposition dump at the beginning. But yeah, it was a lot of things like that. They're just like, sometimes we just cannot do it this way. It's just not going to work in audio.
Yeah, but doing it in the podcast within the podcast it kind of harkens back. I think the first time I noticed anything like that is RoboCop with the news broadcast.
The TV news,
yeah, which kind of builds the universe in the beginning, and then in the middle it does it again. Going back to, I wrote down a couple of just little notes of lines that really stuck out, and the jerking off guilty pleasure line had me not only like almost spit take, but even on the second listen, I was actually out for a walk listening to it, and I stopped and I was laughing just maniacally outside. I don't care if anybody heard me.
Listen, but not to get too real, but like we're all men here, right?
Exactly.
Everyone's been there, like in that kind of moment afterwards. You're just kind of like, "The fuck am I doing?"
Yeah. Like
I don't think it's guilt as much as it is shame. Right. But
Yes.
like once that kind of like afterglow is like, you get a few seconds of like, oh, that was great. And then you go, oh, fuck, what the fuck, what am I doing here?
It's just in
Um,
that moment, in
yeah. And
that
again, yeah,
moment
and
is
that's
so
comedy,
funny.
right? It's stuff that's really, people laugh at things because they recognize it. They see
Yeah.
it in their own life. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to mention the cast to begin with, because we didn't, Shannon Woodward, who I realized I recognized the voice because of she played Dina in Last of Us 2.
That's right.
Yeah. And then Thomas Sadowski, John Cryer, Allison Pill, Jonathan Frakes, John Boyega, you're
Alex
in it.
Winter. Yeah.
Alex Winter. Yeah.
Greg
It's a
Grunberg, who's
fantastic
terrific
cast.
in it. Ben
That's
Starr.
right.
Everyone is so good in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
which is amazing because I didn't pay any of them. They all did it for free, which is perhaps the most remarkable thing about it. But that's what's interesting is with this show is the medium is kind of the message. I wrote it out of frustration because as a screenwriter for the past couple of years, particularly working in television, it's just been so difficult to get anything done. Like, you don't have to be in the business to know that Hollywood's a mess right now, right? It's all over we see this all over the place. And there's like a headline news, all the horrible things that are going on in Hollywood all the time. And certainly from the inside, yeah, like not just me, but screenwriters, of whom there are many who are much higher than me on the totem pole, will tell you, yeah, it's awful out there right now. I have a friend of mine who wrote, I don't know, probably like 3 of the biggest movies in terms of box office of the last 10 years. It complains to me the same way I complain to him. Like it doesn't, like it's the same across the board, across the food chain. And I had a year last year where a couple of projects that I really loved hit the wall for exactly because of the reasons that we're talking about. Like nobody wants to make original stuff anymore. Like everyone's terrified, everyone's contracting. There's no money to make anything. And everything, again, has to conform to these bullshit. Make sure you keep restating what's going on and all this kind of stuff. That I was so disenchanted by the state of the business. I considered quitting. I almost quit. But I decided to write this instead purely as just like a therapy script. Like, this is like, why I hate my job, the TV show, or why I've come to hate it. When Shannon talks about, when she's playing, because Gail is very much me in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Like when I was a baby writer, I used to tell myself like, you don't complain because you've got the one job you always wanted. But I feel like I don't anymore. That's true. Like I'm not, most of the time I'm not doing the things I want to be doing. I'm not writing. I mean, I'm writing, but like, I'm not getting stuff made. I'm mostly just pitching, trying to ask people for money to make something, trying to impress them, putting together, mostly writing about things that you want to write rather than actually writing the thing, like writing outlines, writing treatments, writing pitch decks, writing scripts for, media, for pitches and things like that, on and on and on. And it's demoralizing. And so to actually decide that, fuck it, I'm just going to go make this thing myself, was just, that alone probably kept my mental health above the waterline in the back half of last year. Because I spent like 3 months from like September to the end of the year making it. And to go from all of my conversations being, so yeah, this is going to be great. Can we have some money? Like, can you please let us make this thing? Oh yeah, we'll look at your notes, or whatever. To just the conversation being, okay, we're going to shoot on this day and we're going to do this. And this is and here's the dialogue. And look, we actually have finished scenes to edit and we're making something. And plus the fact that I know that, because it's podcasting and YouTube and like the gatekeepers have all gone away. This is something interestingly, like, always say to, people that are trying to break into the business, you can just make your own YouTube show. You can make your own podcast. Like you can break in your own way. And there's plenty of success stories to demonstrate how that, can be done. But that's now happening at every level. You've got, writers like me that are more established that are now saying, fuck this, I'm just going to go do it myself. The other nice thing about it was being able to spend the whole 3-month production process knowing that this wasn't going to be a waste of time. Right. Because I know that people are going to find it, because there's no one. It's when I'm working on a TV show or a movie that someone else is paying me to work on. Literally every time the phone rings, I'm like, okay, here it comes. This is I'm fired. Or
they're canceling it
completely, like mind-bogglingly bad, or the project's been canceled, or there's a new director that's come on. He wants to take it, go in a different direction. So much of it is beyond your control. Right. I'm constantly waiting for that other shoe to drop, for someone to pull the rug out from under me. Because I created this myself and paid for it myself, no one can pull the rug out from under me because it's my rug.
Beautiful thing.
I own the fucking rug. It's a very cheap rug, but I like it. It's mine. ties the whole, you really tied the room together.
It ties the room together.
I got there before you. I can see it coming. I was like, I got to get ahead of this guy. And that alone is like, there's nothing more. Go back to Aaron Sorkin. Aaron Sorkin famously said, "Writers don't write to see their words written. They write to see their words performed."
Mm-hmm.
Just being in a studio with Shannon and Tommy and Boyega and these guys, like hearing them like read my words and seeing it come to life was just the biggest thrill. And again, to know that it's like, I know there's going to be an audience here, right? It's like, oftentimes, like, I've written movie scripts in the past, sold them to a company, they got spiked, and I can't even get it back. They own it now. So now it's just going to sit on a shelf. And the idea of spending 6 months of my life pouring all the stuff that I care about into something, only for have it to be read by maybe 20 people ever, and then it sits on a shelf, is incredibly heartbreaking. Screenwriters and writers and creatives and artists are by nature sensitive, emotional people, right? Because that's what you tap into in order to, make the jokes that other people relate to, and you pour your lived experience into something, and it has to be something that you care about, right? Mm-hmm. And so you care about everything that you do if you're doing your job properly. And so when something gets taken away from you, it literally it's heartbreaking. You actually go through some of the same emotions you go through in a relationship breakup. Was it me? Could I have done something? Yeah. Could I still get them back? Or could I have done something different? What did I say? What did I do? Who's she with now? Like, who's the new writer on the project? Like, you go through all of this. You go through all of these things, and that is like emotionally 90% of the job, and it's really fucking hard. Sorry, pardon my French. That's the way for me to put it. If you listen to See You in Hell, you're going to fucking hear a lot more than that.
Oh yeah. It's
a very sweary show. That's another thing. Like, if this had been on a TV net, it would have been like, Gary, can we maybe cut the swears down by like half? No.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have been able to go after half of the people you went after in your jokes.
Do we have to make a joke? Do we have to make a joke about Larry Ellison in the first 5 minutes? Yes, we do. And so it's so nice to not have to. That was my pitch. Like, it's like the studio, but without any notes from the studio. Mm-hmm. Was the original pitch. And so for that reason alone, it's like that. And that's the other thing, is like, it's very liberating to write for yourself, because a lot of jokes you might pull your punch up at going like, I don't want to write this joke, fall in love with it, because I know the studio is going to kill this joke.
Yeah. But
I could write whatever. No, I'm not going to kill my own joke. Like, if I change my own mind about it, sure. But like my manager he listened to it like a couple of weeks before we dropped it. I said, what do you think? He said, he liked it. He said, I got two notes. So this joke and that joke. I don't know if you're helping yourself with, it's like, do you want to work at Paramount ever again? I'm like, he's like, well, he said, my advice is maybe drop that joke. And I'm like, thank you. I'll take that under advisement. And then toss that note away like a parking ticket. But when you're actually working for someone who's paying you, the subtext of every note is either do this note to our satisfaction, or we'll find someone else who will. And
the notes are written by, one of the things I was thinking about while preparing for this interview and wanting to talk to you was, like, who are these fucking people writing the notes? Like, did they ever go to the movies? Did they ever laugh at a joke? Did they ever watch a movie? Did they ever enjoy anything?
Or did they become? To be fair, it's not a monolithic group, right? There are good executives, bad executives, good producers, bad producers, good directors, bad directors, good notes, bad notes, right? And it's like, there are certain people that I would always go back and work with because I know that their notes are really smart. Generally, what is like, if you work with a producer or a director or an actor who's also a writer, so like, for example, I developed something a while back with Akiva Goldsman. And Akiva, obviously Oscar-winning writer, very extremely smart guy, or like Simon Kinberg, who I've worked with before. Like, these are big time producers now, but they started as and continue to be writers. And so when you get a note, that's a note that's coming from their skill set as a writer. If you are just a fucking Harvard business MBA or whatever who likes movies, or as Shannon says in the show, a fucking Silicon Valley tech bro whose top 10 favorite movies are all of the Fast and Furious. Like, that's. And by the way, like, life imitates art so much. When I did the NBC thing and they were pitching her all these reboots, the original reboot they pitched to her was in the show, it's Highway to Heaven, but originally it was written as Little House on the Prairie. I had to change that because literally the week after I wrote that joke, the actual Little House on the Prairie reboot was announced. So I have to go back and change it. The Fast and Furious thing. David Ellison, who's a tech bro. Guess what his favorite movies are? Fucking Fast and Furious.
God.
And so, depending on the person, it can be very difficult. And part of my problem is that you have to learn. Any screenwriter will tell you this, and it's a lesson I'm still learning 20 years in. No matter how bad the note is, I don't care how much it makes you cringe, or how much you're thinking, I'm not fucking doing that. That's a terrible note. You never push back on it in the moment. You always got so here's a freebie from the producers and the executives who might be listening. If you ever hear a writer say, "That's a really interesting note," oh yeah, let me give that some thought. They fucking hate. I promise you, they hate it. That's the writer's equivalent of, there's a lot of good stuff here. This is a great start when you get your notes back on the script, which is basically their way of telling you that they fucking hate your script. You learn to read between the lines. But yeah, you don't never push back on notes in the moment. And sometimes that's the right instinct as well, because like I always have my gut reaction to almost all notes, unless it's like a brilliant idea out of the gate, which sometimes you go, like I've had people pitch me notes and you go in the moment, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? You've just solved it for me. That's such a good note. And you're grateful for those notes. But sometimes I've also had plenty of times where I hear a note and my initial reaction to it is like, oh, now how's that going to work? That doesn't work. But then you sit and think with it for a minute. And writers will often, you'll have heard this phrase before, writers will tell you to look for the note behind the note, which is, on its face, the note might sound bad, but what they're trying to get to, the symptom that they're trying to diagnose, right? The issue that they're trying to get to, like this scene needs to move faster, or maybe we don't need this scene, or this character needs to be more of this or that. Like there might be that, like the note's heart is in the right place, right? There's a good note in there somewhere. You just have to learn to dig it out and find it. And so that's sometimes what you do. You sit with a note and you figure out, like, what are they really trying to get to here? And oftentimes when I've done development with executives and other people that are giving me notes, you'll spend a lot of time on the phone with them. So like just trying to figure out, like, I'll send them, like, what are we really trying to get at here? Like, explain to me what, you want, where this note is coming from. And you will, and sometimes you'll get to it. And it's, oh, okay, now I understand what you want. I can do that. That makes sense. But like sometimes the note just won't be passed or communicated in a way that makes sense. So it's every writer obviously will tell you their notes horror stories. I've decided, like, when I don't know if I will do this, but when I retire or on my deathbed or whatever, wheel me out on the stage at Comic-Con and I'll read you. I'll do a dramatic reading of all the worst notes I've ever had.
Oh, like, boy.
Like fucking Spaceman from Pluto level bad. You know that one, right?
Yep. And
I mean, and like, did you ever see the notes on Blade Runner?
No. Are they legendary? Are they just
for a near final assembly of the film? The notes were brutal. Like, this film isn't working. This is terrible. I don't understand any of it. It's like, and yet, fucking great movie. So you just know. William Goldman said it. I say it all the time. It is the one and only true thing that has ever been said about this industry. Nobody knows anything. Yeah,
I've heard that before.
It's just how well can you bullshit your way through it? This is a bluffers and bullshitters industry. It's how the fact that I have a British accent, I think, has helped me to some extent, because like it confers like 10% extra. It's like a bonus dice roll in D&D. I'll go a +5. Charisma. Like,
it's a power up.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about because I'm saying it in a British accent.
You could like, to take a horrible example, you could read any of the Orange Shitler's posts, and if you're reading it, I might take it 10% more seriously than coming from that man.
Oh, I don't think even I don't think even fucking Morgan Freeman could pull that off, dude.
Going back to the script and the lines, I think one of the things that I was really excited. I watched The Newsroom, which was some of Sorkin's best work in my opinion.
On that show,
and Tommy delivers lines that you've written for him with the same kind of firepower that he would with the Sorkin script. But it's just, you did gather. How did you go about casting? Like, were you just kind of hitting up? Did you have people in mind for the characters when you wrote them?
Yeah, I think a little bit. So first of all, Tommy and I joked about that because obviously he has done a Sorkin show, and a lot of people give him a lot of grief. But I'm an Aaron Sorkin fan. He's one of the only writers, and you can count them on the fingers of one hand, that, like, if you're watching something you might go, is this Aaron Sorkin? Because like no one else sounds like that, right? Like he has a voice. Like 99% of movies, like they can be good or bad, but like they don't have a distinguishable voice. Coen brothers, Aaron Sorkin. There's a very we mentioned Billy Wilder back in the day. I've had to go back that far. Like there's very few writers that have a voice and go, I fucking know who wrote this,
right?
And that's Sorkin. And some people feel like, it's like, some people might say like it's one note, like, he's often like repurposed the same gags in other shows and stuff like that. But like to me, he's a brilliant writer, and I was actually really interested to pick Tommy's brain because he'd worked with him a lot. I said, what's it like working with Aaron Sorkin and this kind of stuff? And I made that same joke. Hey, you worked with Aaron Sorkin, and now you get like the fucking Timu knockoff version of it.
Or Aaron Sorkin at home.
But so how did it come together? So Shannon and I had obviously worked together on Gundog, and she's always my first choice for anything that she might even vaguely be a fit for because she's so good. And then Shannon is very good friends with Amanda Seyfried, who is married to Tommy, and she said, "Oh, I bet you, I bet who'd be good for this is Tommy Zdarsky." And so we got him that way. Alex Winter, I already know. I already knew. I just called him up and said, "You want to?" There were no agents, no reps, nothing. I would just call them or text them. In the case of, for example, John Cryer, who I never even met or spoken to before, I just DM'd him because he follows me on social media. I said, "Hey, listen, feel free to tell me to fuck off, but like, do you want to do this thing?" And what's interesting is 5 years ago when I did the Animal Crossing talk show, Animal Talking during COVID, we were able to get all these amazing guests because no one was working.
Right,
and
everybody
the
was
talk
home.
shows were dark, right? And there was nothing. People were looking for nothing to do. If I like any other time that I might have asked any number of guests to do it, they were, I'm shooting this, or I'm shooting that. But they were like, yeah, I'm just sitting around here in my hotel room, like waiting for someone to figure out how I can shoot my movie during COVID. And so they would all come on and do Animal Talking. And now we kind of have business COVID, right? We have showbiz COVID, showbiz vid. No, it doesn't work. And so it's the same thing. Like again, I during normal times, I might have said I probably wouldn't even bothered, but like John Cryer, someone like John Cryer, right, who's been on major hit sitcoms and big shows, and he's a real actor, a proper actor, may well have said, "Oh, I'd love to, but I'm doing this or I'm doing that." And even Frakes was like, "I can do it, but like I've only got a small window before I've got to go off and do Starfleet Academy or whatever's next." Because some things are still getting made as long as the IP shows are still getting made. But yeah, John said, "Yeah, people basically read the script and said, 'Oh, this is funny, I'll do it.'" And no one asked my money. No one said like, how much am I getting paid or whatever. And they all just volunteered their time because they wanted to make. And they all said the same thing. Like, I just want to do something. I want to make something. Just fucking make something. And so it was that kind of like, fuck it, we'll just make the show right here kind of vibe. And Boyega, I don't know how I talked to him. John and I have known each other for 10 years. We've developed lots of projects before. He showed up at the studio, honestly, not even really knowing what he said. What am I doing again? Like he was just down to like mess around. Out. I said, you're playing an alternate version of yourself who only cares about money. He was like, I love it. Let's go. He thought it was hilarious.
Yes, he was. One who answers the phone by his last name only.
Yes, and again, very handy for the audience at home to know who's speaking. Right, just little things like that. Little things.
Yeah.
Like that.
His part was great. And that's actually how the episode ends, which, it talking about the project that the two of them are pitching. Yeah. It's the same project. And also I just love that you did even more universe building by creating fake shows within a show. There's the Gaza sitcom called Rubble.
Yeah. That was like what I was trying to think, like, what is the most ill-conceived idea for a show you could possibly come up with? And it was a sitcom set in Gaza called The Rubble that NBC wants to make. And I was like, it's funny, I was talking to another writer. I was like, okay, just as a thought experiment, is it possible that you could thread the needle and actually do that show well? And they were, no. I was like, yeah, okay, good. That's what I wanted to hear. Like, there's no way. There's no fucking way. So yeah, coming up with stuff like that. And obviously West Palm Beach is meant to be this incredibly glitzy kind of American telenovela, very cheesy. And you can actually go to the CUNL.tv and like, I have a West Palm Beach like crew shirt from the
I saw that.
So yeah, just things like that are really, when you've got like little things. It's funny, even a show like this, which is just set in the real world in the modern day, and it's mostly just people standing around talking to each other. you can do world building, right? You can create like this world where these two people created this like mega hit show. And what is and what does that look like? And it's like I said, with the TV version, we actually got to do. The thing is now, once we get to like episode 3 or 4 or whatever, because we are going to make more. Awesome. Maybe I could do a scene from West Palm, because once the audience is like they understand what they're listening to, you could do that kind of cutaway. It was never going to work as like the opening scene in the series because it was too confusing. Oh, you're listening to you're going to listen to like a completely different show that doesn't exist for a couple of minutes, and then there would have been two people like, what the hell is this? Like, did I did I have lost your audience? This is the wrong podcast. What the hell is this?
Yeah. And then I do think, though, there is room for MAGA She Wrote, where an older woman who's a writer investigates a bunch of crimes and gets all the facts wrong, because that would be what that show would be.
I mean, that I can actually say again. You could do the comedy version of that. So that could say MAGA She Wrote, right? Could be an SNL sketch, right?
Yeah.
But like, I could also see Fox actually making the sincere version of that show, because that's where we are now, right? Where you've got ABC, CBS, Fox, CNN. Everyone is fucking terrified. Right.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so hard to get anything done right now. I have a show that I just wrote that is like a little bit political, and I'm not even going to bother sending it out, because like the environment is such that everyone is terrified to do anything interesting. And so, and I think I honestly think the sad thing is, if this goes on for much longer, and I certainly hope that it doesn't, you are going to see some version of MAGA She Wrote or whatever.
Yeah.
Like shows that are trying to pander to the fucking ivermectin audience,
whatever the fuck they watch.
To me, fuck off.
Yeah, it's and because the current climate of all things, in just all things is in this show. You take a shot at the Snyderverse and stuff like that, but I want to get your opinion on this. I think about how some of this started. I think about like 24/7 media starts with OJ and then really culminates with 9/11, and now here we are. What's kicked this off that so many places, so many companies and studios are adverse to making original material? Is it a Star Wars Marvel thing? Is it what can you trace it to?
I mean, that's always been there to some extent, right? Like basing a business model of like basing movies and television shows off of things that have already proven to be successful in another format, where they're like, based on the best-selling novel or whatever, or,
right.
You've obviously seen that for many years, or, a film version of a TV show that was super, super popular. It's like, so it's a fear-driven business. It always has been. It's just driven by greater amounts of fear than ever. But it's always been, movies to a large extent as a business have always been kind of like a secondary business. Like, make it in another format first, demonstrate that there's an audience, and then maybe we'll come on board. But we need to know that the audience is already there. So show that to us. I've used this example before. If Suzanne Collins wrote The Hunger Games as a feature film spec script, no one's ever heard of The Hunger Games. No one makes that movie.
Right.
What's going on here? This girl, like, she's in her dress is on fire, and these fucking kids are murdering each other. This woman over here with like mad blue hair. What the fuck is going on? No one's making that. But because a bajillion people read the books, what are we on, like the 8th Hunger Games movie now? Just like, okay, we know people are going to show up, and so it's just become a way to mitigate risk and to mitigate fear. And again, it doesn't work, right? Because even like these big IP movies shit the bed, right? There's no guarantee that people are going to show up for these things. But it's just a box you can check to you can feel like you're protecting yourself, and it can be anything. Like, for example, like Christopher Nolan, one of the few filmmakers in the business, right? He can do pretty much whatever he wants, right?
Sure.
Because he's got to a point in his career, and God bless him, he deserves every second of it. He's a brilliant filmmaker. He has become the brand, right?
Right.
He's the IP. From the first thing you're going to see on that trailer is from Christopher Nolan, right?
Yeah.
And that right away is all you need to know. It's a mark of quality, right? It's going to be good, right? Because he's never made a dud, right? They're all bangers. He's like I say, he's really, and so he can get away with it. But like, Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg, obviously.
It's like, there's a handful of filmmakers out there who, again, who have earned the right to be their own IP. For the rest of us, you got to bring something to the table. One of the last meetings I was in before I decided to write See You in Hell was like an executive at one of the major streamers, I won't say which, who basically said, look, if it's not based on IP, and by the way, like, big IP, don't even bother bringing it to us because we won't even look at it. Like that's all we're interested in doing right now. And it's like someone like Vince Gilligan, right, can get Pluribus on the air because again, Breaking Bad, the studio feels comfortable because they know it's going to be a good show. His experienced showrunner knows how to make a show, knows how to make a good show, and they get to say from the maker of Breaking Bad, right, and Better Call Saul. So right away, people are like, oh shit, yeah, I'll watch that, and so you become the IP. But that's very rarefied air. There's only a handful of people who can do that. The rest of us, are taking calls on fucking Rock'em Sock'em Robots the movie or whatever the bullshit, whatever it is this week, And not that you couldn't make a good movie. Phil Lord and Chris Miller have shown that you can do it, right? You can make a brilliant movie out of the Legos. You can make a brilliant movie out of 21 Jump Street.
Or right? Barbie.
You remember when they announced that Aaron Sorkin was making a movie about Facebook? I mean, what's that going to be? Well, that's going to be a fucking good movie. You just don't know.
Yeah.
So it can be done. It's just it just irritates. I'm having a problem with IP. It's not when they came to me with Star Wars and was like, oh, IP. I was thrilled to be playing in that sandbox, right?
Of course.
Me since I was a kid, and so it's less to do with IP is killing. It's more to do with the fact that it's all we're doing. It's literally all some of these streamers want. Is why seriously, do we really fucking need? Look, the Harry Potter one gets me the most. Right? They made 7, 8 films at the highest possible level.
Yes.
John Williams doing the music. Right? Perfect casting, all British cast, top name directors. And I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but like by all accounts, those movies they did it right. Those movies are really good adaptations of the books. Do we really need to fucking go all over again? Apparently we do. It's not like they came so close last time, but we can get it right this time. No, they got it right the first time. Those movies are
they got a 10 out of 10 across the board.
Oh, because you have no fucking ideas of your own and you're terrified to do anything different. And this is why with Star Wars and Marvel, it's the same thing, right? They overdid it.
Yeah.
Right. And you get to a point now where they're saying like, oh, well, maybe we should pull back on making Star Wars movies, or maybe we should pull back on making Marvel movies, because these executives, these masters of the universe, don't understand like basic scale. The more you make of something, this is basically economics 101. The more you make of something, the less it's worth. There's this inflationary principle, right? Scarcity is part of what makes something valuable. Fucking Luke Skywalker learns that Darth Vader is his father. Sorry if you haven't seen it. Spoiler alert on this one. And fucking Han Solo's been captured by a bounty hunter. See you in 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh man, exactly. Right. And so I'm not saying we want to go back to that necessarily, but like that was when a Star Wars movie came out, it was fucking special. And now it's just another movie. Another Marvel movie, another TV show comes out. And you go, yeah, all right. It's like nothing's making you, because we've been force fed this stuff so much that we just don't care that much anymore.
And I think if you're handpicking the right people to work on one of these things and you're giving their voice a chance, I like to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's a Sam Raimi film. Like, I want to see that because it's a Sam Raimi film. And again,
there's another one where like halfway through, even if you hadn't told me, but like, it's just fucking Sam Raimi, right? Because you just know, right? Because he has a style that no one else does or can do, right? You just know it's Sam Raimi.
Yeah,
exactly right. But
that's what makes it special.
Increasingly don't want those kind of auteur filmmakers. They want filmmakers that they can control and push around. Like film used to be a director's medium. At the top level, at the AAA medium, it's not. It's an executive's medium. It's a producer's medium. Directors, are generally they are required to do as they're told and deliver.
Yeah.
When you get into a point where the success or failure of a particular film can move the share price of the parent company, it's not art any at that point. This is why we talk about art versus commerce. And this idea that when I watched on the Book of Eli, Alan Hughes, one of the directors, said to me something that I still remember because I'm going to tell it to you right now. He said, Hollywood is fucked because it's based on a fundamentally unsound principle, which is the marriage of art and commerce, which is two things that just don't belong together. You're not supposed to make art to make money. You're supposed to make art for art's sake, right?
Correct.
That's fucking literally the MGM logo, art for art's sake, right? But it's not. It's art for money's sake. They literally should change it. And the problem is whenever art and commerce come into conflict, which they almost always will because they rarely have the same goal, commerce wins every time.
Yeah, it does. It's sad, but I mean, I think about the way that we, as a community of people, whether it's film, it's TV, it's comics, or whatever, music, a lot of stuff gets talked about because a lot of people see it, and last year I think about Sinners, I think about Weapons, I think about One Battle After Another, I think about these original.
You just named my 3 favorite movies of last year.
And that's the thing, like, are these companies not understanding that if you cater to the people that are talking positively about the things that you're putting out and you make more of that, you have room for both of these things. You have room for
again, but let's take each of those movies one at a time, right? Sinners got made because Ryan Coogler earned the right to make it, right?
Sure. Billions of dollars of box office.
Top quality movies and box office bangers in the bank, and said, now you're going to let me do the thing I want to do, right? And he brought along Michael B. Jordan, right, who's a big star, obviously wrote a great script, but like 99% of other filmmakers don't get to make that film. That was not a cheap film to make, right? And there's all kinds of strikes against it in terms of why commercially a studio might want to say no. But you get to a point where you can just kind of like brute force something, because Ryan Coogler has banked all this equity and he's banked all this capital and he spent it making that movie. Good for him. Weapons, right? Again, Zach Cregger, right, has made a bunch of bangers. The next one's going to be good. Had a really interesting, brilliant premise. As soon as I saw the trailer, I'm like, I got to see this. Like, you got to know what's going on, right? You got to know what the central mystery is. And it's horror, which is a fairly bankable genre these days, and didn't cost the world to make, right? And so he gets away. He's not getting away with anything, but he gets to do what he wants. And then One Battle After Another, right? P.T. Anderson, again, incredibly talented filmmaker, not like a big box office filmmaker, but again, Leo, right? Without Leo, that movie doesn't get made, right? He got that movie made, and it's going to lose a shit ton of money. So it's not that the studio's looking at it and going like, oh, I'm glad we backed that movie. Like as an awards movie, as a prestige movie, it's good for their aura, for their vibes, but it doesn't help their bottom line, and it doesn't in any way help the next person that comes along and wants to make a movie like that it costs a lot of money. But it's a star-driven business, and again, there's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 actors in the world, including Leo, that could have got that movie made at that budget level with that filmmaker, right?
Yeah, and but the thing that, and I wonder if you agree with me on this or you noticed it, the thing about Sinners and Weapons, I think that really helped was the marketing was brilliant. I mean, Sinners, they dropped a video on YouTube that Kodak put out of Coogler talking about the formats.
The different film ratios,
And that's why I drove up to Seattle to go see it in the IMAX, because I'm like, I have to see this in the IMAX. And Weapons,
they're film lovers. I give you an example, and it happens at every level. I put a post on social media saying, "Oh, should I see? I'm gonna go see Sinners. Should I get the IMAX 70mm version?" And fucking Michael B. Jordan responded saying, "Yeah, bro, that's the one you got to see. That's the best version." And because it's coming from like a play. Say what you like about Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise is like basically keeping movies alive.
Yeah,
encouraging people to like go to the theater, go see a movie. When I went to see Sinners, and we did, I thank you, Michael B. Jordan, for the recommendation. Yep. We saw it in IMAX 70mm, and when that scene happens, then the musical scene, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't remember the last time I ever felt so fucking transported by a film. Like it was transcendent. Like I literally was getting the goosebumps, thinking, "This is it's a trope. Like, this is cinema. This is fucking what cinema is all about." Is being in a place where it's just you and this massive screen, and it takes you to another world, and the rest of the world and all of our troubles just fall away. That's the power of cinema. And like, I don't know if you can do that at home. Like,
you can't.
If I'd have seen Sinners, I've got a big ass TV at home, but if I'd have watched Sinners at home on my TV, do you think I would have felt transported in the same way? Probably not. Like the way in which you see it means a lot. And the idea that the theatrical window is getting shorter, and this communal experience of going to see films together is going away because, and a lot of the times it's like people have ruined movies. Right? I don't like going to the movies because I'm like, I like being at home. I can control the situation. If I need to go pee, I can just pause the movie. I don't have to worry about who's this arsehole sitting next to me,
Yeah. Or the talking two idiots behind you that
that's
are
what I'm
the
saying.
only
like, you
people.
don't control you don't control the experience at that point. You're surrendering it to like a couple of hundred strangers, right?
Yeah, it never used to
that
be
can be
like
great,
that.
right? You go see like Avengers or whatever with a big crowd on opening night. That's its own experience, and that's brilliant. And the crowd kind of feeds off of its own energy. But like, I have low key anxiety anytime I go to a movie. What's going to fuck up this experience for me?
Yeah.
Is it going to be a guy talking on the phone? Is it going to be that the projectionist fell asleep and like the screen's backwards or whatever? It's all these things that you don't control. Anyway.
And I get that. I do enjoy both experiences, though. The experience of sitting in a movie theater, even by myself, because, working a non-traditional schedule.
My favorite thing is to go see a movie at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday when I'm literally the only one in the theater.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how I want to see a film. I get the screen, but I don't have to put up with any of the other bullshit.
Yeah, I'm going to see Bone Temple tomorrow at like 11 o'clock in the morning. I can't wait.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
But I also do
a hot dog at 11 o'clock in the morning. Like you feel like you're breaking the rules somehow.
Yes. But I mean, I think the experience also of seeing a movie like, I saw Rogue One at the Seattle Cinerama the night it came out, packed house, and people are feeling that movie. Their emotions were fully audible, which that's a great thing. But it feels a lot different than it did just even 10 years ago.
Well, I mean, the last 10 years, for a number of reasons, have been a complete shit show, right? And,
yes.
It's across, obviously, just across the world, politically, you name it. But like certainly in terms of our business, the kind of the rise and fall of streaming as we've seen it. I don't know. I think it's been good in some ways and really bad in so many others. And nobody knows what's going to happen next. That's the thing, is there's so much fear and so much uncertainty about what's next. That's part of the reason why there is so much paralysis, and shows that 2 or 3 years ago would have been immediately greenlit and put on the air are now giving people pause and like, well, I don't know, this could be risky. What if the paradigm changes next week? Or there's a line in See You in Hell when Tommy says something about canceling shows and leaving audiences in the lurch. He goes, you fucking do that all the time. Like your algorithm cancels show all the time. This came from a real thing. I have a screenwriter friend who had a show on a major streamer, and his show got canceled. And he said it was the worst call I've ever been on, because you could tell the executive was embarrassed. He said, I have to tell you that we're canceling the show, and I don't know why. I cannot give you an answer. I don't know why. It's like the algorithm, the master control program has gone, no. Like, it's looked at the numbers, it's looked at the tea leaves, baked into all these numbers, it's deployed its fucking AI. The same AI that tells you to drink bleach for, a scrape on your elbow or whatever is happening this week. Is now saying, well, this based on, numbers and formulas and nothing else, this show is not, we're canceling.
So
but like that doesn't, there's no, the executives literally don't, like it was baffling to me. It's like you could tell the executive was more bummed out than my friend, the showrunner. I was like, I don't know why we're doing this. I cannot give you a reason. And like, that's where we're at, dude.
And it sucks because like, if they're basing it off an algorithm, it's not going to be one of those stories like Family Guy, because most people don't realize that Family Guy was canceled. Remember, it was like after 3 seasons, and now what are we on? Season fucking 28?
Yeah.
People spoke up, they voiced their opinions, and they realized, oh, we're leaving not just money on the table, but future money on the table. It feels, for somebody that's not in the business, but always been around it and wanted to be in it at a point in my life, like, I understand like how frustrating it is for anybody working in it,
One thing that is never lost on me is because you see it all the time, is Hollywood constantly taking the wrong lessons from failure and success.
Yeah.
So like when Barbie was a massive hit, it was like, oh god, we should make lots more toy movies, right? No, that's not the lesson. I'm seeing they're trying to make this thing Doomsday happen now. Have you seen this? It's because Dune 3 and Avengers Endgame are coming out around the same time. Let's create, but the whole, they're again missing the point. Like, Barbenheimer did not happen because some marketing company pushed it. It happened organically. People decided that's what they wanted. They saw two movies that were like absurdly diametrically opposed from one another. And that's funny, and it's fun, and it's cool. It's somebody wanted to be a part of. So it was actually that movie, but those movies came out on my birthday. Barbenheimer Day was my birthday. And I said to my wife, for my birthday, I want to do the Barbenheimer thing. I want to go see Oppenheimer and I want to see Barbie. And we decided to do it that way because Barbie's obviously the palate cleanser, right? You don't want to go the other way. And it was funny. We went to the movie theater and you got people dressed up, in pink. And I'm like, oh, you're here to see Oppenheimer. And like, you make all the jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And people create it, like virality cannot be manufactured, right? You cannot tell people what they're excited about.
Never works.
You're seeing it right now with AI. Right? Every company is like pushing AI, and everyone's just like, don't want it. And so this idea that you can manufacture these moments or like create these lightning in a teacup type moments, it's not realistic. And again, they will constantly take the wrong lesson. Like the lesson from Barbie was you can do again. We're talking about Lego and like. Again, when they announced Barbie, Greta Gerwig, as soon as they said Greta Gerwig, I was like, okay, just wait a minute.
This is interesting.
Because there's something interesting is going to happen here. There's no way she's phoning that in, right? And it's a really interesting comment. And she made a brilliant film out of a fucking toy. And so it can be done, but it's not, make really good, subversive, interesting films and come at it from a different direction and make films that are like, empowering for female audiences and do all this cool stuff. That wasn't none of that. All that got that's way too difficult to draw. It's like well, toys though, but toys, right? So now we can do Hot Wheels. No, that's not how it works. But everything gets boiled down to like the dumbest version of what you should learn from the success or the failure of something. And it sucks because like really good. One of the things that I've learned not to do is in pitches or whatever. Cite movies that were not successful at the box office. So like, for example, Children of Men is one of my favorite movies. It's a brilliant film.
Yeah.
And I have in the past worked on things where like Children of Men is something you might bring up. Oh, it's kind of like Children of Men. But that movie was a huge box office failure.
Yeah.
And so you don't, this is going to be just like that other thing that didn't make any money. Like that's what they're hearing, right? And so you learn not to criticize movies that were really successful. Mm-hmm. I just read a thing the other day. David Ellison, who's the new head of Paramount, basically believes that box office success is analogous with a movie's quality. Well, we know that's not true, right? It's
never been true.
Patently false on its face, and you can just immediately deconstruct that. But I don't know. You want to talk about? Let's talk about See You in Hell. I'm complaining. Okay. Well, that means this is all See You in Hell does. If you want to hear more of this, but like through the voice of fictional characters, then See You in Hell has got you covered. Because it's just me belly aching about all this stuff for like 41 minutes.
So in the in the fact that you released this pilot, not knowing what it was going to be like if you were going to make more, and now here we are about a week and change later since it's been out. Are you going into the next couple episodes? Like, are you excited? Like, how is it feeling going forward? Because I'm excited.
Feeling pressure to put episode 2 together really quickly because I did not think this through at all. And I did the pilot. I was like, I'll do the pilot and see if people respond to it. And then we'll see what happens without really thinking about what would happen if people did respond to it, which they have. And now there's demand for episode 2. And again, people that know things about podcasts are now saying the best thing you can do right now, because you've got this momentum, is get episode 2 out there. So, I haven't even written it yet. So like, the nice thing is I can do it fairly quickly. The first episode took about 3 months because we were starting from scratch. But, you build all these systems and foundations that you then put into the next one. And so I could probably make the next one from soup to nuts in like 3 weeks. All the actors are coming back. I know what I want to write. I've just got literally when I'm done here, I'm going to sit down and write it. But still, it's like I probably should have had more in the hopper before I launched it, because you don't want people to go, oh, is this all there is? And then they wander off. So it's in my best interest now to try and like make the rest of the show quickly. But it's a high class problem to have.
Yeah, really right. First world problem type thing. But it's I've been watching people talk about it. You've been posting about it, like keeping people in the know that there is more, I think is one of the most important things.
Yeah, so I actually updated like a mini episode to the feed that was just me talking, saying, hey, thanks for listening. There's going to be more to come. Don't worry. This is not a one and done thing. I mean, it would have been a one and done thing if nobody had listened, but it's doing really well. So now, it's like, shit, I got to make more of this thing now.
Yeah. Now
here's into a corner. So yeah, but the good thing is everyone's up to do more. I know exactly how to do it, and like I said, I have a ton of fun making it. So it's just nice to be back in in a production mode. I'm not. It's not.
Yeah.
It can't be all I do because this thing doesn't make any fucking money.
Not yet.
At least not yet. But in the short term, this is, it's just it's worth more to me and my mental well-being to know that I'm making things again and not, on another waste of time general where, oh, we love Gary, we want to be in the Gary Whitta business. Oh yeah, let's make something together, and then you never hear from them again. Hey, I'll give you another one from my fucking Ferengi rules of acquisition for Hollywood. Don't pay attention to anything that people in this business say. Only pay attention to what they do, because they are often very different.
Yes. And I know from experience of talking to friends who are kind of alluded to that without saying it. Going forward, I know you've been talking about possibly doing, crowdfunding so that people can start getting paid for doing this. Have you thought about that even more?
Yeah, maybe. I didn't want to be as presumptuous as to launch the show with a crowdfunding link and jump into it, because what if nobody listens? Then it's embarrassing. Crowdfunding makes me nervous the same way that when I was a younger man, I would host a party. What if no one shows up? It's the same thing. What if no one shows up? Because if I crowdfund something, that's very public, right? And if it does, and it comes well short of its goal, then it's that's kind of a face plant. So I really wanted to have again, the Hollywood executive thing. Let's make sure the audience is there, right, before we dive in with both feet. So the idea is now we're definitely doing one more, which I'm going to self-fund. So the going forward, it would become, for me to do a whole season with the actors being paid, even SAG minimum for low budget audio, which is not super expensive, but all the actors did it for free because just out of their goodwill and generosity, but that's not something I would want to take advantage of going forward. The budget for a full season would be based on actors actually being properly paid their fair rate and everything else. But yeah, for right now, I'm going to self-fund the next one myself. And if the momentum continues, then we'll look into crowdfunding. It's not terribly expensive to do, to make the whole, I don't want to put a number on it, but to do a whole season of 8 episodes, probably less than you might think. And we'll, it would be nice to be able to finish the whole, I know the story that I want to tell. It's just a question of figuring out how many episodes and what would it cost and the kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
Doing this and stepping into the podcast radio drama type thing, is it inspiring you to write any other similar types of format shows? Is it something that's inspiring you to tell more stories this way?
I mean, maybe. I right now, obviously, I just want to kind of make sure that See You in Hell continues to be successful and at least kind of finish a short season of that. But yeah, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, is there another project that I love that I could never get off the ground that might be adaptable for audio? Possibly. I don't know yet. And of course, the nice thing is that in success, these shows can actually be a backdoor into getting it on TV, right? I don't think that would happen with See You in Hell, but we've seen many examples of narrative audio podcasts that have gone on to become hits, Only Murders in the Building, right? It was a podcast. Yeah. There's many examples of this, and agents and executives and producers are actively kind of scoping out the podcast, the audio space for hit shows that would be I'm only thinking of Only Murders right now, but there's at least a dozen, right, shows either on air right now or in development or in production that came out of successful narrative podcast formats. And oftentimes, this is not how I would want to do it, but oftentimes you'll see people making these shows purely with that in mind. It's I don't really care about audio, but if we get this out there, establish it as an IP, maybe this is the proof of concept for the TV.
Yeah.
And companies the bigger podcast companies, I think, are increasingly looking at that. We'll put a podcast out there and maybe on its own terms it can justify its own existence as a podcast, through advertising or sponsorship or whatever. But what they're really looking at is what can this be beyond that? Where's the big, because unless, you're Joe Rogan or Amy Poehler or one of these people at the very, 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 very top of the podcasting universe, you're not making a ton of money in podcasting, right? But but if you sell your concept for TV or film or whatever, then, that's, and I think a lot, you've been seeing this for years, Cowboys and Aliens, right? That wasn't based on the comic book. That wasn't a real comic book. They made that comic book essentially. They basically just made it as a glossy brochure of what the film was going to be. Jammed it into comic book stores, And so this is. Fortunately, we don't do that so much anymore. But it's really about this idea that understanding that because Hollywood is a secondary business, if you can write something as a book, again, Hunger Games, right, being a good example, you can write something as a book, or like a YouTube short or whatever it may be, just like if you can prove that there's an audience for it in some other format, you're going to have a so much easier time getting it made for film and television.
Yeah, and I miss the days where they were adapting comic book properties that nobody would ever look to or even think of. Sin City, Road to Perdition, these films that were great because the source material was great, instead of
it does. I mean, it does still happen. Just it's much less than we would like it to. And it's interesting. There has been kind of a change in how this applied, because I originally come from the video game world, right? And video game movies and TV shows had a stigma for a long time because you can't make a good one. It was because they were making they were picking the wrong things to adapt. Super Mario Brothers. Like, again, you can do it, right? Illumination did eventually do it, right? Because they did it well. But like the problem is we used to pick. It's like if this thing sells 10 million copies, we'll make it no matter what. Again, like Hunger Games, again, on paper, there's a million reasons why you don't want to make that movie creatively, but 100 bajillion people buying the book obviates all of those concerns. And I think now what we're seeing with it's still the big hits that are driving this, right? God of War, The Last of Us, being the primary. The Last of Us probably did more heavy lifting than anything else in the last 10 years to demonstrate, you can make good video game movies if you pick the right material to adapt and adapt it well. And even the Sonic the Hedgehog movies.
Those are hilarious.
Sonic. I was one of the guys, really? You're going to do Sonic the Hedgehog? How do you do that? Well, it turns out you just make E.T.
Yeah. You let Jim Carrey do whatever the fuck
and you let Jim Carrey go fucking nuts. And you can do it. You can do it. Like the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, those 3 movies are a little miracle. They're really good. You can do it if you just pick the right material and do it and come up with the right take. But the problem is, we're constantly operating off the wrong lessons of failure and success, and greenlighting things and making things for reasons that have nothing to do with why something was or might be successful. And it's frustrating.
Well, maybe you're doing See You in Hell will put a couple of these creatives, whatever, on blast. They'll look in the mirror and they'll be like, well, maybe I should do better.
That's not going to happen. Of course not. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
It's a nice thought. I appreciate the optimism, but no.
Well, I'm trying to be optimistic because, right now there is nothing to be optimistic about.
No, there really is. No, just embrace the darkness. Do what I just embrace the negativity, embrace the fatalism of it all. Everything's fucked, we may as well have a good time while the ship goes down.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Also, I've been thinking about that, especially in the last week to 2 weeks, about how fuck it. There is nothing, with the exception of being one of these pieces of shit that's doing horrible things or supporting horrible things. Just go for it right now, because tomorrow, literally, figuratively, actually may not happen for any of us. Or all of us.
That's absolutely right. And I, during COVID, I heard this from a lot of writers, and during these Trump years, both the original and the sequel, and obviously a lot of the
worst fucking
the original. A lot of creatives like, how am I supposed to write my stupid robot ninja stories in the middle of all this? And the answer is I think try to find a way to have your writing address speak to that. And that's that might be good creatively. It probably is a poison pill commercially, right? Because there's very little appetite for anything that speaks to a political moment right now. You asked earlier about how do we get here. A lot of it is, I think, the polarization, right? It's very difficult to make a show that has any kind of point of view without immediately pissing off half the country, right? You're either woke, it's too woke, right? Or it's, I don't know what there is on the other side. Or you're fucking one of these bullshit shows that the right is trying to make, but they can't do it. There's all these shows are shit, right? Because the people on the right don't have a creative bone in their body, because being creative requires empathy. It requires understanding how other people feel, so that you can write things that will make them feel those things. But if you don't have empathy and you don't give a fuck about anyone else, how are you gonna do creative work? That's why all these shows that they trying to make are so shitty.
And that's why they're trying to push AI.
What's that?
And that's why they're trying to push AI, because it doesn't require creativity in a generative space.
It's so funny to me that AI, the aesthetic of AI has kind of become the aesthetic of the right wing. You know, when you see AI art, it's like a particular style. You can just tell immediately, oh, that's AI. And, you know, all these pictures are like Trump, you know, with Jesus on his shoulders, or all this bullshit stuff that they make up. Like that's not what gets me the most is like, you know, the AI picture of like Trump and a dog. Oh, he loves dogs. Like, does it not occur to you that the fact that you had to make that picture up tells you something about the reality? It's so, yeah. And they love it, right? Because I literally made the same point the other day that I think the right wing love AI because it allows them to be quote unquote creative without requiring any actual talent.
Yeah.
Right? And it's true. It's also shitty and it's also depressing and it's only going to get worse. I wish I had a happier message for you, but I do just in generally, both in this business and like overall, like it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Buckle up.
Well, I mean, I hope at least we can still look for sparks of light, whether it's, you know, The Pit, whether it's Sinners, whether it's See You in Hell, like these things that at least do their job, make us laugh.
There will always be those things. I mean, like we complain like that nothing great is getting made, but you know, we have The Pit, we have Pluribus, we have Sinners, we have One Battle After Another. We have all this amazing stuff there is amazing stuff out there, but it exists within a much greater morass of all of this bullshit. And it was much harder, I guarantee you, for each one of those things to get to the screen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm hoping for more of the same kind of great stuff that comes out from creative people. But See You in Hell, right? The pilot's out now. SeeYouInHell.tv. It's available everywhere, right?
Yeah, you can go to Apple Podcasts, you can go to Spotify, you can go to YouTube. SeeYouInHell.tv is a website I put up just as a kind of like, you know, you go there and all the links are there.
Yeah, there's
even like a little embedded player where you can play the episode within the website. So yeah, please go check it out. Right now, we're at a very, very interesting point where the success of the show is like Apple's algorithm is like actively this might be something we want to support, but in order to do that, like we have to keep you don't want to see like people will like listen to it for a couple of weeks and then went away, and so part of that is on me to keep promoting it and doing things like this to try and get people to go check it out, and then making more. Like I'm literally doing both of these things today. Here I am promoting episode 1, and as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go and write episode 2 or play Arc Raiders. It could go either way.
Yeah, that's the video game life, right? It's like, I need a break from the day.
It's too easy. I mean, I have really severe ADHD, like diagnosed ADHD, and it's so easy for me to be distracted by other things that oftentimes there is a lot of procrastination. But like, I actually have like the success of the show has kind of like let my feet to the fire now. Like, hey, you've created an opportunity for yourself to like to really make this show successful. But you've got to do the work. You
got to keep going. Yeah. Well, I will post all the links in the description below. Gary, thank you so much for your time. This was great conversation. I enjoyed it.
I know with me, conversations have a tendency to kind of like go all over the place as this one did.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's how I work. Thank you for listening. I had such a great time talking to Gary, and even listening to him talk about stuff that is inside baseball behind, getting a podcast made or doing that. Like, it's fascinating to me. And I think the more that we embrace listening to creators talk about their creations and then taking part in listening or reading or watching those creations, it definitely is going to help the overall health of people who are trying to get original stuff made. I mean, that's really at the heart of this, is trying to get something made, an original idea, something created by somebody. It's super important to really embrace that. Even if you don't end up liking it, try it. We can all fall back and watching our Star Wars and our Marvel and our DC stuff, but original content, original movies, original music, whatever it is. So that's my spiel for that. Once again, you can find all the links in the description below for See You in Hell. For me, you can find me here on YouTube or Apple or Amazon or Spotify, and my other channel, West Coast Avengers, which is all just comics, but it's a different side of things. And I have a Patreon, $5 a month. It'll get you bonus episodes from both channels, some voting for videos, an exclusive sale every 2 months, and it helps support the channel, helps me pay my editor. $5 a month. It ain't nothing these days, because coffee's like $6.39. And if you're drinking Starbucks, which you shouldn't be, it's like fucking $12 or something. Anyway, my name's Dave. This is Direct Edition. I'll see you next week.